Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Code Vein. Now, a while back, I did a live stream on YouTube where I went into great detail about all of the information that was known at the time about Code Vein. This was like a couple of months ago, and recently I came across a video which I downloaded, and I'm going to be putting on this particular video as well so that you guys can watch it. And the special thing about this particular video is somehow I might have missed it while I was looking up all of the E3 stuff, and maybe this was shown at E3. But basically, this is something that I missed, and I recently came across it, and I figured, hey, might as well do a bit of a refresher on Code Vein for all the people that might be interested in it that don't remember exactly what it is. But the interesting part about this video that I found is that it actually had, it was just a chunk of raw gameplay. Now, this was very basic, just like a couple of attacks on a couple of the most basic looking monsters in the game. But the important part of it was, like, when you're looking at combat through a trailer, it makes it kind of hard for you to figure out exactly the type of combat that they're doing, because you get very small snippets of combat. Whereas this, you actually get chunks of combat, even though, like I said, it's the most basic stuff, just super basic attacks, which I believe is not going to be what the game is going to look like in the final iteration, but it does give us a look at what to expect from the combat. And after seeing that, I was actually somewhat surprised, because this seems extremely Soulsborne inspired, and I don't know why I'm surprised. A lot of people have been saying this game was probably going to have Dark Souls-like combat. It's just I wasn't expecting it to be this close, you know? And I'm pretty sure that by the final version, the combat is going to look quite a bit different from what we see here, because we're going to have special attacks and special skills and all these other things that we can do to kill monsters. But right now, it's like looking at that game, it's almost like anime Bloodborne from what I saw. And again, this is not necessarily a bad thing. As a matter of fact, for all those of you that want more Soulsborne combat, this kind of feels like the next closest thing that you're going to be getting. And I know that a lot of you guys that watch my videos, guys, love Dark Souls combat, and you guys can't have enough. And in that case, let me tell you a little bit more about Code Vein, and make sure that you stay tuned to Code Vein so that you know all of the things that are happening around this game. So very quick, let me just give you guys a basic concept of the lore around this game. So there's, from the look of the footage and the trailers and all this stuff, you seem to be noticing a theme, which is like this some kind of post-apocalyptic world that we're in here. And at the center of all of that destruction, there is something which is a society of revenants, which is called Vein. Obviously, that's where the name Code Vein comes from. You, as the player, are going to be a revenant. Now, these revenants, you have special powers. They're called gifts. You get gifts of power in exchange for your memories and a thirst of blood. So basically, you're giving up memories, or I'm assuming you're making some kind of an exchange, some kind of deal with the devil in order to get these powers, in which you lose your memories and you gain a thirst of blood. You essentially become a vampire. So revenants are kind of like vampires, and they thirst for blood and all this other stuff. And they give you a couple of more details. They've updated the description on the Bandai Namco site. This is where I'm getting all this information from. If you give in to the bloodlust, you become one of the lost. The lost is the generic description that they give to the enemies that you encounter throughout this world, which again kind of really reminds me of themes from both Bloodborne as well as Dark Souls. Like, you guys remember the beasts? They partook in the cursed blood, whatever. I don't remember the exact stuff, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And they became beasts. They lost control, all this other stuff. Same thing with the Hollowed. The Hollowed have died so many times that they don't remember who they are, and they're just hollow. They're shells of themselves. That's kind of like what seems to be the enemies in this game, except they're called the Lost. And the reason they're called the Lost is because they gave in to the bloodlust, and now they're no longer, you know, they're pretty much almost not sentient. They're just like these primal creatures that are just trying to kill you and get blood, wandering the world aimlessly, just trying to get more and more blood. And I think one of the reasons they call them lost is because essentially at that point, it's kind of like you traded all of your memories, and therefore you are lost. You have no idea who you are. It's just like you're kind of like brain dead, just this zombie walking around trying to get blood. They refer to these lost as fiendish ghouls. Now, we've seen a couple of bosses in some of these trailers. I'm assuming that depending on how powerful a revenant is, because I'm assuming that most of the big bosses are most likely going to be previously they were previously revenants. Again, this is assumption. This is not confirmed, but I think it's pretty safe to assume that they were previously revenants. They either abused their power, did something along that nature. They became lost, and the big bosses are like the more powerful revenants. When they were at the height of their power, they probably became lost, and then they became like that. They mentioned that essentially what you're going to be doing is you're going to be going on a journey to unlock your past. Now, an interesting change in the description was previously in the description of this game on the website, they said, this game will feature an interconnected world, which if you guys remember when they referred to Dark Souls all those years ago, they said an interconnected world. Nobody ever said Dark Souls as an open world, but as an interconnected world. And so it kind of seemed like they were going for the same thing here, but they changed that to story-driven connected dungeon experience. Now, I love dungeon crawling. Guys know I'm a sucker for that. So dungeon crawling with Soulsborne combat, sign me up. I'm good to go. But the interesting thing here is there's going to be character creation to begin with. This hadn't been confirmed. Like, we didn't know if you were going to get like a preset character or if you were going to be able to actually create your character. There is definitely going to be character creation. That has been confirmed. And then you will be able to choose a partner to go with you on your journeys. Now, I'm assuming as you navigate through the world and you experience the story and all this other stuff, you're going to meet different characters and so on and so forth, and then you can have those characters join you and you get to choose one of them to be your partner to take on adventures. And I'm assuming you'll be able to swap them in between if you so desire, but it seems like they want you to kind of really focus on choosing a partner. You know, I'm assuming you'll be able to try them out, play around with them for a little bit, and then kind of figure out which one you want to spend more time with to actually develop his skills and stuff like that. But that is kind of like where this game majorly differentiates itself from Soulsborne games, which is usually in Soulsborne games, sure, you can do summons and all this stuff, but it's mostly a temporary alliance. Whereas it seems that here you will actually have a partner and you will have to strategize with your partner. So you'll have to figure out, okay, I'm using this weapon, which weapon would synergize better with my weapon? Like maybe you'll have your partner have a faster weapon to kind of like keep your enemy staggered or something, while you can wind up big blows with a heavy weapon or something like that. Or maybe you will have to choose a partner that has specific gifts, that like maybe he's got some heals or something, or maybe he's got some kind of special buff that you like that he's able to provide to you. So again, you're going to have some strategy here in the choice of partners. But the interesting thing that popped to mind when I first read this part, where you actually have a partner and you're going to be spending most of your time in game with your main character and the partner character, was like, does this mean that we can have proper co-op? Like, can you imagine if instead of, you know, you can choose your partner, whatever, but you can also have another player come play with you? Now, wouldn't that be something? Be able to play a Soulsborne game begin to finish, instead of just like, no, we play this area, now you leave, now you join my world and play through. No, instead of that, you would have just like 2 players, full-on co-op throughout the entirety of the story. I think that would be friggin' amazing. Whether or not they're actually going to do that, I don't know. Maybe this whole partner thing is an integral piece of the story. And so playing through the game with a partner, you will unlock different types of story. Because they actually say in this description at some point, they say something like, oh, you experience the story in different ways by choosing different partners. So I'm assuming that maybe these partners are a significant portion of the story itself, and therefore, who knows if co-op is going to be a thing or not. Like, I really like the idea of this being like a 2-player co-op game, or at least having the potential for playing with 2 players. I think that would be amazing. And then maybe you can do the partner thing as a side thing, or I don't know, or maybe the co-op thing can be a side thing. I just hope that there is co-op, basically. I think you guys get the idea. But also, even if there isn't co-op, just the whole thing about thinking about the potential strategies of having a partner and like figuring out, okay, I want to take the Russian lady with the big tail-like weapon, the scorpion tail-like weapon, whatever the hell that thing is. And she also shoots from afar with the ranged weapon, and therefore I'll be melee, she will be ranged, she'll be able to cover me, stuff like that. Just thinking about the potential builds and maybe even the replayability value that you can get from something like that is something that is getting me pretty hyped up. Even if, I'm going to be completely honest here, I was hoping that the combat was going to be, a bit different from Souls. I'm not discouraged by what I've seen, because like I said, there's still a lot more stuff that will be added to the combat, as we will mention a little bit further down the line here. Now, they also say that the different partners that you choose are going to have different backstories, as well as completely different combat styles, which we kind of already went through. One of the things that is mentioned is use blood veils to drain your enemies. Now, I'm assuming blood veil is that thing that covers the main character's face, it's got like the spiky teeth and stuff, and depending on the veils that you will have, maybe that will have different effects on your character. It also mentions that you can enhance these blood veils, so you can kind of like customize them and give your character different abilities through that, or maybe even different gifts. So that is cool. It says that the gifts are powered by enemy blood, but also remember that if they said earlier that if you give into the bloodlust, you can become one of the lost. So I'm assuming you can drain blood from your enemies, but you got to keep that stuff in check. Otherwise, something bad might happen. It would actually be cool if maybe you're able to, drain enough blood to a point where your character kind of loses control temporarily, gains all these buffs, but at the same time, maybe you'll attack your partner. And, I like the concept of like your character losing control and just going berserk, but you having some kind of a disadvantage when that happens. Like, I think that would be cool if they play along to that, kind of like the same way that From Software tried playing to the beast side of Bloodborne, where it's like maybe you'll become a beast and you will lose control and stuff. But instead of that, it just ended up being you just take more damage, but you deal more damage. I'm hoping they explore a little bit more of that beastly side of like, oh, I've soaked up so much blood and now I'm going crazy, berserk, like kind of like Evangelion Unit 01, just like fucking going berserk and destroying everybody. I don't know. I like that idea. And then the other thing that they mention is that you will have weapon abilities and specifically overpowered attacks. Now, I'm not sure if that's something that maybe got mistranslated from Japanese or if it's just something meant to say a really powerful attack. But the concept of my character having overpowered attacks seems kind of weird, particularly because this game is supposed to be pretty challenging. It's going to be obviously, like I think most people already figured out by now, it's an action RPG, third-person action RPG. And it's looking pretty good from what I've seen so far of it. And this new information, and having watched that video, it's definitely going to have lock-on as well, which I should have mentioned earlier. And in case you guys are curious, the team behind this game is the team that developed the God Eater games. And that, I guess, explains to you guys why I'm so surprised, because like the combat of God Eater and the combat of Dark Souls are Dark Souls, Bloodborne, are two completely different styles, extremely different styles. So, but if you look at the weapons and stuff, you can see that those weapons are very inspired by what was in God Eater. So yeah, just check out some of the screenshots. You can even check the previous video that I did where I go over the screenshots and I show you the similarities of the weapons to the weapons that we've seen in God Eater before and all that stuff. But yeah, game's looking good. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. All of your feedback, anything you know about Code Vein. Are you excited about it? Are you not excited about it? Are you more excited now that you've watched this combat video? Are you less excited? All that stuff, comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And if you're new, subscribe so that you're always notified of my next video. I seem to be losing my voice here a little bit, but don't worry about it. I'll see you guys on the next one.